Is he not the best player in the league at the moment?
I still believe Bont's up there, but I mean, that's why I'm saying he's the perfect player.
The fact that he has now said two different things and he's got proof of one thing being different to the other is very interesting and makes it a really interesting case. For people to think there is a correlation with him and it being a conflict of interest is stupid. First of all, the AFL had already ticked it off from last year.
G'day everyone, welcome back to Zero Access Footy, episode number 8 today. Once again, it's your hosts Rhys and Behm, and we are going to be talking everything gather round, everything South Australia.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on South Australia first off?
Rain, controversy, a couple statement wins from the gather round as well, but even more rain, I think, was the story.
Very much
2026.
so. I was more asking, what was your general thoughts on South Australia?
Jack
I know
Higgins.
you love Adelaide.
Yeah, Jack Higgins.
Jack Higgins, that's it? All right, yeah, of course. Mr.
Never
Saints
going to
fan.
Adelaide again.
Mr. Saints fan.
Been there 3 times in 3 years.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. Maybe next year Zaf goes to gather round. We'll wait and see. But
We're not marmalade.
yeah, I wish we had that. Anyways, we've got ourselves the Thursday night game, which was like the opposite of the rest of the round. It felt like high scoring, really, really exciting footy, especially from the get-go. Adelaide versus Carlton. This was a story of who is going to take a step up after a disappointing start, and it felt pretty clear most of the game, despite only a 28-point margin. Adelaide had it pretty much hook, line and sinker. Carlton were hanging on, and they've done that a lot, but they can't hang on for long enough, it seems, this year, as Adelaide managed to take it away.
Mm-hmm.
I think the major headline for this, how good was Isaac Rankin and Josh Rochelle?
Phenomenal. Josh Rochelle had 4 goals in the first 35 minutes of the game.
And these first two with the exact same ripper goals. They were amazing.
Phenomenal. I mean, the first quarter, Carlton scored 5 goals, 3 from stoppage alone. Sam Walsh had, I think, 12 touches and 9 score involvements in the first quarter. Like, ridiculous. Post the first quarter, Carlton scored 2 behind for the rest of the game from stoppage.
Yeah.
So they quite literally were stoppage only, scoring-wise. I thought maybe they could have come back in the second half, but weren't quite able to get there. Adelaide were very resolute defensively post the first quarter, and that sort of kept them sort of at a comfortable lead throughout.
Yeah, and I think what's really exciting about it is the fact that it seems like Rochelle's taken a step up. They needed that player to become one of those helpful midfield pieces. The likes of Saligo have kind of taken a step. I don't want to say taken a step back. It's still really early, and Saligo has had some good games, but Sam Berry looks pretty decent. He's doing his job, keeping his spot.
Yeah.
But Rochelle, Rankin finally is looking a bit more impactful. It's good for Adelaide and for Carlton, unfortunately. Yes. It's more of the same, not as devastating, but that's only because they never really looked like they were going to grab the lead at any point during this one.
Yeah.
So definitely not the greatest start to your season, and another missed opportunity for those Blues, who are now 1-4, with their only win being against Richmond.
It was a tough watch as well, that one.
Yeah, very much so.
From a game that scored 39 and 46 points in the first quarter to a game that scored 39 to 45 at full time.
Yeah.
It was a big turnaround.
That was both an exciting and awful game. That first quarter was the worst quarter of footy I've seen in a good while. Very good while. Thankfully, the third started really exciting, and the end of the game, despite only 2 goals being scored in that quarter, that was really exciting. The weather, of course, played a massive factor into it. Massive factor.
Yeah.
But a tough nut win against a team that's really, really good at killing games when they've got it. I really thought Collingwood had it. They were killing the vibe of the game so hard to the point where I thought, yep, they're just going to cruise to this one. Freo aren't doing everything wrong, but at the same time, this is not a game where you can really take the game by the scruff the way they want to.
Yeah. I think
Pies will kill it.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
No, I think the big talking point will be Collingwood out of this game, because it's another game where they cannot score. But before we get onto them, we'll talk a bit about Fremantle, because they look like they're ready. And I think the big thing in this game, it's going to be talked about a fair bit, is Sean Darcy being concussed and then Luke Jackson going into the ruck and turning into the All-Australian player he was last year. Is this now the move that will continue for Justin Longmuir for the rest of the season? Is it now Luke Jackson is your number 1 ruck? Because we've been very strong on it. I specifically have said you cannot have these two partnering in the ruck. Sean Darcy, so much for Skinny Darcy, as Kane Corns loves to say. He is gone. He just looked completely out of it in that first half.
Yeah, it's very tough because I think Sean Darcy's role and the type of player that he is has just become more and more of a tough role to succeed in.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
obsolete.
Yeah, and there's no leap in his game. There's no real way you can see him becoming a rejuvenized player unless he becomes like a really strong, I think a defending role, but at the same time, it's his speed that lets him down.
Yeah.
He and Riley O'Brien kind of have the same problem. They were so good at their role for so long, but now that the rules around him have changed, it's hard to find a spot for him. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Pies as well, you talk about how they're offensively struggling. They didn't help themselves. They missed a lot of easy opportunities. And
yes.
I'm sure plenty of people have talked about how poor their kicking in front of goal was in that last quarter especially. But they had them by the scruff all game. They had them. They really did. And Freo would have like little bursts of offense that resulted in scoreboard pressure. But Collingwood probably had control of that game basically from the first quarter to
I'd say so.
the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe they, outside of those small little 5-minute periods where Freo would kick, Freo would kick a few goals to give themselves a bit of a buffer or whatnot. It lived in the forward half of Collingwood, and they looked like they could get over the top at any point, but it comes back to this problem that has been talked about a fair few times in that, like, who's going to be the guy that steps up in these big moments? Dan McStay looked like he could have done it a few times and then would just waste his opportunities.
Yeah.
It's a tough like set, and it's a tough like environment to kick goals in, to be fair. But at the same time, when you miss 25-meter outs right in front, like Schultz in this particular situation,
I was just about to say that
it's really, really tough to justify their performance. And then Jai Amos kicking his goal, like it shows it's a very clear one side versus the other in terms of who won, how this game was won.
Yeah, their three sort of main forward options this year have been pretty much Schultz, Membry, and McStay. Elliott has been nowhere near his form from last year. And Schultz should have scored about 2.5 goals on expected score. He underperformed that by 2 goals. Tim Membry should have scored 2 goals, underperformed it as well. Dan McStay should have scored 2 goals, underperformed it as well. So their key forwards and their best small forward so far this year are simply not getting it done in front of goals. And it's pretty much the story. When you're already down on key forwards, you can't have these players simply missing. And I don't see a short-term solution to this. I don't think you can chuck Darcy more forward. And I don't think he'll be able to be good enough to get you to a level where you'll be good this year. And the other side of that is backline. They've got no other option as well to cover him. So, like, they got rid of Mason Cox. They got rid of Brody Myercheck. There's no one else coming through at the moment. Like, I just don't see where they can go. If they don't land Ben King, they're going to have to go for Mitch Lewis. Well, he's had huge body issues and isn't that superstar that they need. There is nothing to look forward to in this forward line.
Yeah, so obviously the big question mark is the Brody Myercheck stuff. It feels like themselves have been so, like, vocal about how much they miss Brody Myercheck too. It's becoming a really, really strange scenario where they're actively telling people, yeah, we may have messed up there. It's a really weird scenario, but I don't know where they look to go. There's going to be someone maybe in the VFL ranks that they could bring up. Oscar Steen's got a big leap and he looks athletic, so maybe they try him out down there. I mean, but that's really grasping at straws as well. They're going to have to really dig deep for this one. They're going to have to pull something out because losing to Goey for a bit now due to concussion too. There goes another potential forward threat. There's a lot to worry about in terms of that side of the ball. And injuries too. They look like they're starting to rack up. They look like they could get over the top of them at any point. So it is very nerve-wracking, but you also have to understand they looked dominant. They looked really good. It was just their execution. They're going to have the games where the execution comes in. I think they can pick a top 4 team like that. But that game itself, it didn't happen. It didn't come in, and they paid the price for it. So, a very rough, very, very rough ending to a Collingwood game that, honestly, they should have taken home. Billy Frampton's been really good, I think, this season. But the one mistake there is definitely what, unfortunately for him, is going to be what they replay a little bit during the review, I'd imagine. So, it's tough to truly criticise Collingwood outside of letting the game go in the last 5 minutes like that. It's really tough because they did look like the better side.
Yeah, but I'm still going to criticise them. It's not going to stop me.
The thing is, there's things to point out. Let's go to North versus Brisbane.
Good game.
I'm really happy that it was 10 points in the last quarter. Was at one point was the margin, but at the same time, this did feel like a Lions win, true and true. They've got a knack of doing the whole premiership win, if that makes sense. They've got the premiership side experience where they know when to kick it into another level. They know how to get over the top of a team, even if it is a North Melbourne team looking to rise. Mm-hmm. They know how to get over the top of them just because they've been in these scenarios many a times before. They know what it takes to win games like this, where when the going gets tough, the tough get going. It's really what it is. I think from a North perspective, we allowed way too many times Brisbane to defeat us transition defense. If we turned it over in our forward half, they were gone the other way. There were so many times that it happened. Credit to the backline. The backline is looking a lot better this year.
Still allowed 27 scoring shots.
Yeah, I mean, but it really, honestly, I'm telling you, that transition, the turnovers in our forward half should have allowed more. To keep Brisbane under 100 in that scenario, I think, was really good. Chom has continued to impress me, even though there's still... Look, North defenders for some reason have a really good habit of just having moments, just really strange moments where they let something up, and there's always things like that. But Chom kept those to a minimum, I think, for the most part. I think it's just those turnovers let North down. But Brisbane-wise, if we're talking some things to look out for, you'll mention it later.
Yeah.
Dane Zorko was who I was going to mention. Him going out early, as well as potential suspensions for him. There was also a couple of... I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Who was the main goal kicker in this one? Because I think Zach Bailey had a ripper game, but I don't think he was the goal. Yeah, Oscar Allen was up there.
Lincoln McCarthy had a couple really difficult.
It was just a really good all-around performance, honestly.
I mean, you guys went and tagged Ashcroft after Neil has been sort of that play that teams go to. And he really got affected to it. And the backlash that I've seen from it is nowhere to be seen when the likes of Dacos, when the likes of Naz are getting tagged and they're not having their best games. The world goes crazy about it. If Will Ashcroft gets tagged, nobody gives a flying shit.
I think it's because he's also a two-time Norm Smith winner. Like, I get the criticism. I really do. I understand that, if someone is tagged out of the game and can't break it, there's a bit of criticism to be had. Absolutely.
I think the criticism should be even more if that's the case. If he is a two-time Norm Smith medalist, he should be good enough to be at the stage where he can't be getting completely tagged out of the game and there being no backlash for it.
Here's the thing.
He's past that player.
I think because they won, the criticism isn't there, and there's honestly bigger fish to fry in terms of media stories. If we're being honest,
I'd like to see the same test applied.
If they are to lose sometime soon, with Will Ashcroft being taken out as a tag, I'd see the criticism coming in, and who knows, maybe Brisbane are going to actively look to
maybe they do
to stop that from happening. But I mean, there's some decent individual. LDU is looking more and more like a really solid player. Sheasel has a bit more consistency going. But Brisbane are just a class above. Is really all it is. So we'll leave it at that for that game because it really wasn't anything too surprising. Essendon versus Melbourne, though. I put this on the radar for Essendon as a game to win.
I said that Essendon very well could be winning this game.
You did too?
I just didn't have the balls to tip them.
And that's completely fair, honestly. I don't think
you had Melbourne by 50. What do you mean you had Essendon potentially winning?
No. I meant I didn't have the ball. I don't think anyone would have had the balls to tip Essendon.
Oh, yeah.
That's not what I meant.
I almost did.
I was very high on the Melbourne train here because Melbourne's tactics have been, so far this season, just push forward. And I think a simple game plan like that would have worked against a team like Essendon, but it didn't. And a few changes here and there. Blackiston wasn't as involved.
No, Peter Wright was a full-time ruckman, basically. He looked really, really good, actually. Halfway through the second quarter, the scores were 31 to Essendon, 49 to Melbourne. Guess what the run was after that? 82 to 19.
Yeah. Just unheard of from Essendon, and to snap a 17-game losing streak must feel good for Essendon fans.
Yeah. It's this young core. They're really exciting, and we'll talk about Melbourne a fair bit soon because it was a very harsh reality check for them.
Yeah.
But this Essendon young core, it has to be the focus for the next year and a bit, the next 18 months, because really, you've got to continue building on it. If this is the new promise, if this is now we're really building with Brad Scott as the next premiership coach, which is what Andrew Walsh has
Yeah,
now
I saw
officially
that.
said. Why do you want to continue getting these older players? Because they're not going to be there for your next push. These are young 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds at max. They're not going to be in premiership caliber for another 3-4 years minimum.
Yep.
Don't think it's just going to happen immediately. You got to keep going with this young core.
Yeah, I'm worried in that sense because Essendon are trying to re-establish their whole big club identity, is what at least it screams from Andrew Welsh, from the highest up in the Essendon board. I'm just worried as to, how hard are they going to push that? Like, could they possibly look to try and get a Zach Butters? I feel like
they'll push for it, but I don't think Butters is going to Essendon.
I don't think so either, especially with what Richmond has been offering, the scenario with the Dogs potentially and other Victorian clubs. There's a lot of suitors for him, but I think Essendon should hold off on that. Of course, there'll be other players in the future who come through free agency who may have a similar game style to Zach Butters, but for Essendon in particular, right now, it's just enjoy the feel good. Enjoy the feel good. Kako had a really good game too. He's been one that I've been looking at and going, I'm worried. I'm worried because he has been set up a little bit, not too much going his way and not too much, experience around him to settle him.
Yeah.
But this game, he looked really good, and I'm really happy about that. The talking point for me is Archie Roberts.
Yeah,
how impactful was he?
Such
how
a
good
player.
The 40 disposal getters, I think, this season so far have been Nick Dacos, Harry Sheasel, and Archie Roberts. There's a name there that just hasn't fit in that group for very much. He's still very young, but I mean that is more than just a sign. That is hopefully a ceiling and potential trends. Because if he can be that impactful with the ball in hand,
absolutely.
I mean, like the sky's the limit for the bloke. And on top of that, they look to have found a little bit more of a winning formula.
I'd still like him, and this is not necessarily criticism. I think it's just room for improvement to get more ball use out of his game. Because in terms of impact, I don't think it's quite there yet.
Yep, and that's fair. He's playing off a half back.
He's learning.
Yeah,
he's learning, and he's now getting the game and is able to see it much better. And from that, it will grow. But I just think there is still that room for improvement, and he should be able to get there because he's developing very nicely.
You reckon midfielders in his future?
I don't know if they need it because I still think there's the development path for him and Farrell is similar, and they're gonna have Roby, they're gonna have Sharp, they're gonna have all these other players. Sardis even looked good, but let's get to Melbourne now because they got very ahead of themselves.
I think Melbourne. It's really interesting because this is kind of the Melbourne we expected. This Melbourne.
Yeah.
This is the one we were looking at, thinking this is what we're going to see this season. So this may be the reality check that you've brought up as. I think, where on earth did this game plan go wrong for Melbourne this time? Why was Essendon the team to crack it? Because you've got to understand, they've just come off a Gold Coast win.
Yeah.
And they absolutely hunted them through pressure, made Gold Coast look sloppy. It did not look like that nearly as much against Essendon of all teams.
Yeah.
Essendon, who has probably been, up until this round, the definition of sloppy. The most inaccurate team in the league, whatever you want to say. I really could not get my finger as to why the pressure was not there this time.
They look timid, I think, a bit when you're relying on some of these youngsters in the midfield. Like Caleb Windsor just isn't quite there yet, and he's not going to be able to do it week in, week out. Like as good as Cozzy Pickett is, and as greater moments as he can have, he's still probably not a full-time midfielder. Then you got Harvey Langford, who's not getting those minutes, who I think is a full-time midfielder. Colton Tolstrup didn't really have anyone to go to, wasn't put to Archie Roberts to sort of quell his influence, which is something that could have gone. And then they continued with Harrison Petty chucking him forward. And I'm just
they did your favourite thing.
The second I saw that, Essendon's going to win now.
Yeah.
It's just well, this is obvious. It looked so promising for the first 4 weeks, and it was just this is going to be awesome for them. But now when you see this, they're just going to play to their opponents, I feel like. Whatever their opponents are going to be, there's going to be some bad weeks, there's going to be some really good weeks. But whatever their opponent's quality is, I think that'll bring out exactly what we see in Melbourne. So against St Kilda tried to play a really fast style. Melbourne played a really fast style and were able to get over the top of them. Then they played Gold Coast, as you said last week, and were really good in the contest, what Gold Coast are normally known for, and they were able to beat them because they were able to quell some of their forwards' influence, which is a big issue that Melbourne have had. It's sort of what we're going to see.
It's a really interesting strategy too, trying to beat what your opponent is good at.
I don't think it's necessarily... I think it's just the fact that they will play to their opponent's level.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in terms of specific aspects. That's just the level they will be at.
I guess I see it because I've always been with this Melbourne side to begin with, really excited by the fact that they've taken the new rules and the new system that they've got, and they have flown with it. They have made it so that they are always eyes forward, the occasional switch to give them more space to move, but at the same time, they are one that wants to attack at all times. They want to make sure that the pressure is at 200 as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't there this game. And I'm just still so shocked that Essendon was the team to crack it, because this was like the one team that I thought this would work perfectly against.
Yeah.
But Essendon's skills basically were on point this time around.
And their backline stood up, which we cannot have said from the sort of first
for the
half
entire rest of the
last few
season.
weeks.
Another third quarter that showed signs for the next week, right? They're good third quarter against the Dogs, much like West Coast had against the Suns.
Mm-hmm.
And the next week, it's like they go, okay, there is our barometer. There is what we want to be. We want to be this side. We want to be the third quarter Dons versus the Dogs.
Can they beat Gold Coast up there?
Gold Coast are off 2 losses. I don't think so, but
We'll get into it later.
yeah, we'll look at that very, very soon. I think we'll finish up with our talk on Melbourne there, because there's still it's just question marks all over for them.
Yeah.
Let's look at Sydney Gold Coast. This one, if you were paying attention to, the injury list, the way that the Suns have been playing and how solid Sydney's delivery inside forward has been, this could have been a lot worse. This could have been a hell of a lot worse. Kerno, 0 goals, 4. That was one I wanted to quickly bring up.
Absolute sitter too.
Yeah, we saw a few shockers in front of goal, but how good is Isaac Heaney? What the hell?
What a phenomenal
He
player.
is unbelievable. I don't understand how he continues to be this good
Yeah.
for a side that's stacked with midfield talent. I didn't think he was this much of a factor. He is the perfect player for the Sydney Swans right now.
Yeah.
He can be put anywhere, effective on the scoreboard, high disposal counts, effective meters gained, can run long periods of time. He's effective everywhere on the ground.
Absolutely.
He's becoming, very quickly one of my favourite players.
Is he not the best player in the league at the moment?
Oh, that is a tough question to answer. I still believe Bont's up there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's why I'm saying he's the perfect player for Sydney. I think he fits everywhere for them, wherever they need him. He's amazing midfield-wise. He, again, gets on the scoreboard and can play a pretty decent defensive role when he needs to. He is genuinely fantastic, and that's not to take away from the others, like Papley, 3 goals, 3. Brody Grundy, once again, another dominant week in the ruck, showing that experience can still take over. Mills with a pretty decent game. Justin
McInerney has been phenomenal so far this year as a midfielder.
Yeah.
Just completely excellent. And then their backline as well, one of their biggest criticisms in terms of list building, has stood up so far this year, was really able to quell the entirety of the big 3 at the Suns, and that leads me to their talks. Can this 3-headed forward line ever work?
I don't know.
I have continuously said no, but I want to hear your thoughts, because it has been my big talking point. It's now something that's happened once again compared to last week. The 2 weeks that they've had 3 tools, they haven't been able to win.
Well, I mean, it's not even just the fact that they've got 3 tools. It's the fact they've got more tools in the ready, the ones that they probably want to test out, like your Jamaras and stuff like that. It's like, how do you fit all these guys in? Ben King is an obvious no-brainer. He's always going to get a spot. He's pretty good in a contested setting. Jed Walters on and off. Ethan Reid is more off than on, but has such high potential. Obviously, potential's a dangerous word, but for me, you go Ben King and you sort out between the two who is more effective in the on-ball play, I think.
Yeah.
Jed Walter, he looks to be the guy for me at the moment. I think Ethan Reid could really benefit from some more time as the number 1 forward in maybe the VFL or in the reserves for these guys for a couple of weeks, just to get an idea as to what he's like as a number 1 option, and then see whether he can translate that into a centre half forward position in the AFL. But for me, Jed Walter plays such a style that I think the crash and bash that they live off of, he kind of defines it a little. You also have to point out the fact that there's still no Bailey Humphrey.
No Bailey Humphrey, no track.
Yeah.
So there's still that, but I think track should be back this week. So there is an aspect there. I still don't think it'll work. It's just the question of, it's such a hard question for Hardwick to answer. Is it Reid? Is it Walter?
Yeah.
Is it Ugle-Hagan when he gets back? The other question I want to ask, is Mac Andrew now their full-time ruck? Because that was the lever they moved in the second half, and he looked a lot better than what Jared Witts has over the last sort of 6 quarters.
Here's the thing, they can afford to do that. They can afford to test it.
Absolutely.
They can absolutely afford to. Despite how this game kind of went, I think Sam Collins is good enough to stop most teams. I just don't think he had it as much this time around. And I don't think it's even just him individually. I think there's a lot of factors just all around the back line that just did not work this game. But that's going to be something they have a look at. Where is Jared Witts going to go as well? What would his role be? Because they're not going to put him forward.
No, it's a big question for someone that has been such a stalwart in their team for the last 10 years, basically.
Yeah, and it's honestly terrifying because if Witty is going to get his spot taken, no traditional ruckman that you love is safe from this new rule. And honestly, it could be enough for people to say they don't want to see the rule anymore. I genuinely believe that. They love these players. They love their big, tall ruckmen who are just crash and bash like that. Don't worry about the jumping. They're going to miss that, I reckon. They're really going to miss that. And so I reckon there'll be people out there who try to change it. Either way.
Yeah. The Hawks were able to get a huge win over the Doggies on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Dogs really missed Tim English in this, as the Hawks were able to completely dominate the midfield battle, even
Which is
though
not
the talent,
something you would have been saying that long ago.
Because of the talent differential, you're sort of just like, I feel like the Dogs, regardless, could be able to do this, but the hit out to advantage rate was, I think, astronomically wide.
Yeah,
and that sort of really set the tone.
Even with Richards going down with an ankle injury that has been cleared up as not as serious as they thought it could have been. The only one who seemed to really be a danger was Bont, and even then, the usual scoreboard pressure, he only got it behind. He had a fair bit of the football, but just the 1 goal assist compared to your Jack Ginnivan, a goal and 5 goal assists, 28 possessions. Like, he was super involved. Sicily showing his form again, showing his best form. Big shout out to Mitch Lewis. I want to give him a shout out because he, like you said, he struggled to stay on the park. So for him to kick 3 goals and be important against a team who was top of the ladder, like, that's super impressive. That's really, really good for him. So I'm happy for him. But it's just the guys that you hoped would kind of lift a little bit against teams like this. They've done exactly that. Connor McDonald, he's lifted. Lloyd Meek took advantage of the opportunity that he got without English. John Newcomb did his thing. Like, these guys not only play their role, but they learn to step up when they need to.
Absolutely. So,
just a really, really solid win. Really solid win from Hawthorn.
Yeah. And for the Bulldogs, they just got to wait for Tim English to get back there.
They are a bit injury depleted right now. They'll probably be without Richards next week, I'd presume. Still no Libba.
I'd assume they just want to rest him. The interesting question is, if they don't have English, because it's a very sort of unprecedented injury with him, do they move Rory Lobb to full-time ruckman? Because he was a good move in the second half.
He's got a bit of leap. That's why
a chance.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Let's move to Geelong West Coast. We'll probably move through this one pretty quick because it is expected. I think Willem Duursma was a nice little highlight. He was probably the only one who looked really exciting for West Coast, which is a shame that you're relying on this year's number 1 draft picks now.
Yeah.
It's very much an opposite feeling to how exciting they were against the likes of North and Port.
Yeah, but it's still a good result. Like, not getting whacked by Geelong is fine. And then for Geelong, they were able to rest some players that still able to get a decent win out of. Bailey Smith and Max Holmes were very good, even though Holmes was sort of moved to half back to be able to fit Warple into that midfield.
Yeah. Warple's an interesting scenario. Maybe we'll talk about that in a different episode. But GWS versus Richmond, another one expected. I did think, how is GWS going to mess this up? But they ended up taking this by 56. Richmond look nothing like the team I thought they would be.
How are those Ferraris looking now?
Yeah, I know. Like, Dude, Harry Armstrong didn't even touch the ball.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's done that
Jesus.
twice now, by the way.
That's really not good. Jonty Fall looks out of his depth at the moment, which is a real shame because he looked really exciting.
Yeah.
Nick Madden had a field day against Ollie Hayes-Brown, the debutant. I want to give a shout out because I used to play against him in basketball, and he was a man-child. He was terrifying. So I'm thinking, look, it's his first game. I don't want to bash him, and I'm not going to bash him. He's quite frankly a very talented individual. He's great at basketball and football, but he was obviously outmatched in this scenario, so no advantage at all for them in the midfield. I guess they got a bit more scoreboard pressure than they're used to. They've kicked very low scores this year, so 11 goals 9 is actually good for them. Let me look at their goal kickers. Lafau with 4. Liam Fawcett, who's actually been a nice little surprise. He's kicked 3.
They're just, there's just nothing.
It's just a little bit of Lawler, a little bit of Taranto, and that's it.
It's disappointing, but the Giants are able to get off the board and an important win to keep their season alive. But probably the biggest story out of the round really was the Zach Butters umpire situation. It'll get decided tonight in a tribunal along with the other one. We'll talk about it more when I get to the best segment in this entire podcast. But on the game itself, the start really set the tone for Port Adelaide and the Saints. Got out to 27-0 lead, and that sort of was enough of a lead to keep them at arm's length throughout.
Yeah. I think, Port are going to be very disappointed with this. St Kilda still looks super vulnerable, I'll be honest. And Naz had a few moments, despite how good he played, he had a few moments where he did get caught out. But, at the moment, it is Naz, Wilkie, Sinclair.
Don't include Sinclair on that.
To be fair, there were some moments from Sinclair that were... Silvani, the big goal as well. That was huge.
What a
You
player.
love Silvani at the moment?
He's so good. Voldemort is incredible.
Voldemort. Because it was, I was going to say that injury was hilarious. I'm not going to lie. Or at least the look of the injury.
Look of it,
not the injury itself. Hugo Garcia. Shout out to him.
If you're a Suffs fan on Instagram, then you know. I love you, brother. Hugo Garcia.
But, I mean, to be fair, a guy like Horn Francis, who you pointed out could have a big game against you guys, did have a pretty decent 2 goals, 2 behinds, 26 possessions.
Yep.
He got involved.
I will say people might say that Port should have kicked more accurately. They also kicked 3 goals that they were just ridiculous shots on goal.
Yeah.
But the big talking point was the umpiring. It wasn't that bad. There were some contentious calls, yes, but if you follow the rule book, it wasn't as bad as people think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And don't just say that because I'm a Saints fan. It really wasn't that bad.
I like how you have
Still
to clarify
bad,
that.
But not the worst of all time.
Yeah, look, it's always going to be contentious, any game, I reckon. You're never going to escape it. Either way, that is the end of our Gather Round review.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that, we're going to have a look at how everyone tipped for Gather Round. We are officially at 50 members in the Footy
Let's
tips
go.
as well, by the way.
Let's go.
There are a few people who have dropped off because things aren't going their way, which is completely fine. Look, I'm not too stressed about it. But there's your top 5 at the moment. We've had a couple of 8s.
Mm-hmm.
I think even I'm in that list of 8.
There was a 9 somewhere, I did say.
There was Liam Barwick. He had a perfect round, which means he got the Essendon tip right.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable week to tip Essendon.
Very well done.
So you can see there, top spot currently.
Spotify listeners, if you do want to take a look at the scoreboard, I know Shakaf, you are a Spotify listener, so if you want to see yourself at 1, you can look now.
Yes, there you go, Shahaf. Lachlan the Eagle has, I believe, dropped to 2. That's okay though. It's still in the top 5. Footy Pirate at 3. Fimbra at 4 and Abdul at 5. So new names, which is exciting. We're always seeing new names kind of up and down.
I got 7. You technically got 7, but technically also got 8.
Yeah, I know. I don't know where it came from, where I decided to change my Gold Coast tip to a Sydney tip. But, there I am, messing it up again. And so with that being said, that is our footy tips for Gather Round. We've still got plenty of the year to go, so don't worry. You can more than certainly catch up to the rest of them. But now we've got Macca's Man of the Week in an alternate universe. Man, my Discord is still not improved since that night. It is actually still just as bad as what you're seeing up on that screen.
Damn.
Spotify listeners, go ahead and turn off the screen. Don't look at that. We've got my Man of the Week. I'll start off with honourable mentions because I've put a lot of thought into this one. There are a lot of good performances this week.
I know you struggled with the donkey, so it's good to hear you put some time into the man.
Mm-hmm. Honourable mention. I've given Peter Wright,
Okay.
Mitch Lewis,
Okay.
Nick Madden,
Mm-hmm.
Luke Jackson. Those are my 4 honourable mentions, meaning
like
they
it.
didn't make the top
Big
3.
mans.
Yes. There is actually another honourable mention, but I'll get to that in a sec.
Okay.
Those 4 there. All really, really impactful, and in the sense that they had to either step up into a role or they finally showed themselves the potential in the role that they've been kind of sought out for. So Peter Wright stepped up.
In the ruck.
Mitch Lewis finally looked like he fit in his
when
role.
Robbie Ochold went down, he steps up.
Nick Madden
Yep.
steps in, big game. Luke Jackson, Sean Darcy out, steps up, big game. Like those were my honourable mentions.
1 vote.
My 1 vote, Archie Roberts.
Yeah.
I think,
Okay.
look, definitely a big win. I think the other guys, though, were more impactful in their wins, also against tougher sides, if we're being completely honest. But Archie Roberts, that's not any disrespect against him. He had the game of the round statistically. He was so impressive and so necessary to win in the way they did against the Melbourne side.
2 votes.
Dangerous. This is kind of a tie. I'm going to let you decide this 2 vote because it is a Saints player. It's either Callum Wilkie or Nazaya Wanganeen-Miller. Who do you believe played better?
Jack Silvani.
I don't agree. Well, I kind of do agree. You know what? I'll give him an honourable mention too. How's that sound? But who do you reckon did better? Callum Wilkie? Naz
was better. Yeah.
You're just trying to keep him around for longer, aren't you?
Well, no, he was better, I think.
Okay.
I
Fair
think
enough.
Wilkie got a bit lost early, but was a really good second half. Naz was very
Callum
good.
Wilkie, I just know he's been fantastic most of the season. So we'll give 2 votes to Nazaya Wanganeen-Miller. 3 votes, though, had to go to Isaac Heaney again.
Yeah.
I just could not see a world where Isaac didn't get it in the game that he had against Gold Coast. I don't understand how he can still be like this, just all over the ground. It felt like any time anything happened, Heaney was involved. It was
still
crazy.
almost underappreciated, which is crazy. Definitely not the most overrated player in the league. I can say that for a fact.
Oh, mate, with performances like that, it's hard to say he's overrated unless you're calling him the GOAT.
Donkey of the week.
Donkey of the week. So I'm kind of, we'll discuss this because Donkey of the week is the Zach Butters umpire scenario.
Yeah.
I don't know if any individual is the donkey because I genuinely believe it could be just a misinterpretation. And I don't think that's enough to consider yourself a donkey. Maybe if it was like Zach Butters got upset with the call and maybe told the umpire piss off or something, then you'd be like, okay, that's a bit weak, especially if you're going to suspend him. But at the same time, I don't think that's what it... I don't know. I really don't know. The audio has come out from the scenario too.
Might as well transition straight into Behm's TT because it was the big talking point for it as well.
Yeah, we'll bring it to Behm's TT.
So it's going to go to a tribunal hearing, which they've said it's like the first of its kind, but it happened last week basically with the Lance Collard situation. It is essentially a he said versus he said situation. There is, as you said, with the mic proof or the evidence, I have heard it somewhere. I don't know where it was released. It might have been on Agenda Setters. Essentially, we hear a couple words very vaguely. You hear either pay or paid from Zach Butters, but the context in which that is said is not determined.
Yeah.
So it could have been how have you paid that or how much are you getting paid.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to determine how he has said that. I don't think there will be enough proof. However, the most interesting thing is what Zach Butters said after the game did not say the word paid in what he thinks he said. So the fact that he has now said 2 different things and he's got proof of one thing being different to the other is very interesting and makes it a really interesting case.
I also need to point out there's been chatter, and I don't know whether I'm just being spun here, but
Nick Foot, is this about the umpire?
Sportsbet?
Okay. To explain this, it has no correlation.
Yeah, that's
whatsoever.
what I was thinking. It's got no correlation.
He works at Sportsbet on the horses, giving advice on horses.
Yeah.
For people to think there is a correlation with him and it being a conflict of interest is stupid. First of all, the AFL had already ticked it off from last year.
Yeah.
Second of all, what does that have him to do with working at Sportsbet and then being an AFL umpire if he's working in the horses?
I guess it's just the correlation that if he's got that connection with Sportsbet, there's the potential, right, that he could do something. But at the
what
same
would it
time,
have been?
where's the benefit? Where's the benefit in doing that?
What's him saying, oh, he said this
It's not like if he gives St Kilda the win in this game, the Sportsbet stock market goes up.
It happened in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Like it was not affecting the game whatsoever. So that is completely just out of my mind. So I have no idea why that has been brought up. The one thing I do want to mention, though, is we didn't talk about it last week because it hadn't happened yet. But the Lance Collard tribunal hearing did happen. He is, by the AFL, somehow been found guilty, but with a specific... The tribunal, the AFL panel was the one who found him guilty.
He's trying to clip farm. Leave him alone, producer. Let him clip farm. Go.
So they have essentially come out and said, the AFL want 10 weeks. The panel found him guilty. They are now going to determine it, I believe tonight, what the final sanction will be, but St Kilda can still appeal it. What I don't understand is how in one case it is a he said versus he said. In the other case, it is a he said versus he said. And yet there is such a disparity based off of the media attention in one compared to the media sort of framing in the other. That is what I don't understand, because if you look at them in plain manner, they are almost identical cases. Almost identical.
Because of the scenario of no one really knows what's been said.
No one knows what's been said. Lance Collard has come out and done a stat deck to basically say 100%, this is what I have said. Then what has been reported by one side and reported by the other are two different things, which is the exact same case in the Butters and Umpire situation. And there is also no evidential proof in that one either. So I don't understand how there is such a disparity.
Yeah, my thinking here is just like, it'd be very, very ballsy for Lance Collard to be this confident in his lie, if he is lying.
Yep.
At the same time, it's the other side of the argument is very confident that he said the phrase that is getting him suspended for this long. So yeah, massive he said. And I think it also comes down to a fact of, what if the AFL doesn't put a foot down on it?
Yeah.
What if they don't do it? What if they say, you know what, Lance, we're going to take your word for it, or we don't have enough evidence to get you on this. We can't book you for anything. Does it look like a backflip on the AFL's end?
Well, no, because they'll say we found you guilty. So it'll be the best case scenario for the AFL, because there isn't enough proof for him to actually be suspended for it and found guilty of it. But also, they have initially come out and said, in our independent panel, we have found him guilty.
Do you think there would be backlash, though, for not taking it seriously?
Yes,
maybe.
But they have attempted to cover all bases.
I believe so too. That's my point, though.
Yep.
Is will there be people who think that they're trying to sweep a scenario under a rug, whether they're trying to hide the fact that that there may be their systems and their ways of dealing with the homophobic language that's been used in the past, their ways of getting around it aren't working. Like, I'm just trying to think, where would the AFL go if they found him not guilty? And could it be a bit of an image thing that the AFL try to nib in the bud? I don't know.
It's a super interesting case, and it's one that I actually really want to hear other people's thoughts on. So if you want, leave your thoughts in the comments below, what you think should happen and what you think will happen, because I feel like there's a very big difference. A couple other cases, Will Heywood last week at the tribunal, his 1 week suspension got held up. I have no issues with that. I actually wanted that to be the case. And then Zorko this week, his whack on Paul Curtis, I would have thought you would have seen it. Basically copped him in the nether regions.
The bread basket.
Yeah,
yes.
The bread basket. This is intentional. It is medium impact, and it is body contact. How is that not a suspension? I have no idea. I thought the entire point of bringing in strikes and suspending strikes was to get rid of these actions. But no, the bloke who has been hit in the bread and butter region before.
We're children is what we are. We are children. We're laughing at the word bread and butter.
You are.
Yeah, I am.
Now goes and does it to someone else and then gets off. So I have no idea. The AFL is continuously screwing over this entire process. I want to get over this now. Let's get into our round 6 preview.
Yes. So round 6, starting off hot. Well, maybe hot for like a historic kind of standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of expected to go one way, but if there's any game for something to happen with how Collingwood have been looking, it's this one. Carlton versus Collingwood, Thursday night at the G. It doesn't get bigger than this.
No, it does not.
Does not get bigger than this in terms of matchups.
Watch, though, Thursday night games in Melbourne, crowd numbers.
Yeah,
I'm putting it on the board again this year. It's a big talking point.
Well, what was the crowd number last year for this game?
No idea. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Look, the point is the matchup that we are seeing here is going to be interesting in the fact that Wiedering, I think, can be cleared to play.
Should be fine to play.
Oh, no, he won't because it's 2 weeks, right? And he was in
12 days. It's not 14.
No, that he still won't because he was hurt on a... Oh, no, it's a Good Friday. Never mind. He will be back. He will
be fine by a day.
By a day. So he will be back. If he's cleared at the very least. Of course, Collingwood, they're going to be doing everything they can for Nick Dacos's 100th.
Yeah,
That's what this is about. Probably one of the biggest 100 milestone games you can think of. Could Carlton make a play? I really see a world where it could happen. And I don't know whether that's just the cynic in me talking. But they're just so used to having a moment and calling it again. They looked strong. They did look really strong. So I think I'm going Collingwood here. But my wonder is, can Carlton finally put a 4-quarter performance together?
I think defensively they should be able to hold up against this horrible Collingwood forward line. And then offensively, like as good as Collingwood are defensively, stoppage-wise, I think Carlton can really get at them this week. And so to me, all I'm saying is Carlton are going to win. I'm tipping Carlton to win. As much as I hate to do it, I also love to do it because Collingwood lose.
I'm looking towards the middle of the ground and because they're obviously going to get some damage from their midfielders and probably their small forwards too. I'd imagine Lockie Schultz, Jamie Elliott, they could potentially get on the end of a few, but like I'm looking at their tools, McStay and Membry. They're going to have to get up the ground to make things happen because Wiedering is going to do his usual thing down back as he's always done. I'm going to still lean Collingwood way. But yeah, again, I could see Carlton doing it. I'm leaning Collingwood because they looked really good against Fremantle, despite them letting it go at the end. Carlton was like, if Carlton managed to pip Collingwood the way that Fremantle did, I would be shocked because that is the opposite of what Carlton have been doing this year. So I am going to go Collingwood and I'm going to go by 13 points.
Okay. I'm going to go Carlton by 11. I'm
like
having faith. I'm having faith.
Geelong versus the Dogs. This is going to be a good one.
I really hope
but
it's
not as good as what it could have been, I reckon, because Geelong have the numbers, have the players.
Yep.
The Dogs don't as much.
Not at the moment.
It's at GMHB8.
Depends how many players are in and out for the Dogs for me.
Yeah, so I don't know what English's scenario is at the moment. It'll all be known by the time that we get to Thursday for the team selections. But I think the Dogs will need to get some bodies back if they are to win this one. I think it'll be exciting, don't get me wrong. They still, again, we talk about how good their talent is. They've still got some in there, but there are some players that I worry don't fill their role as well. I think Matthew Kennedy does most times. Riley Sanders does look a little bit like an empty stat guy at the moment for me. I want to believe in him, but I just don't see enough effectiveness in his game just yet.
It's a big week for the Geelong backline for me because how good Hawthorn were defensively, it's going to be really tough for Geelong to be able to do the same. And I think there was a lot of jumping at the same ball. They do have
personnel for it,
though.
Yeah,
they do, but I don't think like a Jack Henry who got rested will be able to do what a Tom Barrass did against Sam Darcy.
Yeah.
I don't think Sam DeConing will be able to do that physicality-wise because he really was able to get him under the ball. So to me, it's a big question about the Geelong backline. Can they hold up? Because the Bulldogs midfield will be able to get them enough chances. It's whether their forward line will be able to function well enough, and I don't think it does. I think Geelong have been able to handle the last couple of weeks really well. Even with a loss to Hawthorn, they've been able to rest a couple players and they'll get them back. And it'll be a really strong win at home for the Doggies, for the Cats.
I think it's Geelong by 26.
Yeah, I'm sort of leaning the same way.
We're going to the Derby now. Probably, unfortunately, a bit of one of the weaker derbies, I think, that we've had in previous years. I hope that GWS can put up a bit of a fight, but I'm just thinking how much will Sydney take this one by? And
again, like Aaron Cadman came in, got concussed immediately. Stephen Cornelio also been concussed. Like the Giants just cannot stay healthy.
They cannot catch a break, can they? It feels like it's going to be a bit of a gap here for the Giants this year. But Sydney, they're looking really solid as they've kind of always been expected to this year because of how much talent they brought in, how good their midfielders looked when they're healthy. Of course, no Errol Goulden still, but they're doing pretty well still without him, and they'll only
Yeah.
get better when he joins.
Yeah.
Heaney, I think he'll do his thing again. I believe the ruck scenario, he's got Nick Madden.
Yeah, Nick Madden now versus
Which
Brody
could
Grundy.
be a better matchup, but at the same time, we're talking all around the ground. I think Grundy will have him.
Yeah.
Forwards, Sydney's been clicking. Giants have been depleted. Forward line for GWS, they're either injured or not playing as well. Like it just feels like it's going to be a big Sydney win. I'm saying Sydney by 55.
I'm going Swans by 32, but only because the Giants pip them back late just a little bit.
Yeah, I can see it. Gold Coast versus Essendon. Do they do it again?
No.
I don't think so either. Sorry, Essendon fans.
Clear.
I know. You're probably screaming at us, telling us that we're biased, whatever you may be saying. But you got your win. Happy for you. I just think Gold Coast aren't going to let what's happened to them in the last 2 weeks happen again. I
can't
surely not, right?
I can't see them losing 3 straight. As much as I say that now, meaning they probably do lose 3 straight, I just can't say it. So I'm going Suns by 40 in a pretty convincing but bad game to watch.
Yeah, it could be like that. I think it could get out big potentially early, but it also could be a scenario where Essendon just don't allow it to get to 100 like it has been in the past. So I'm going to go Gold Coast 43.
Okay.
Not as bad as it could be. Hawthorn versus Port Adelaide. Any beef still here?
I would hope not. I don't know what beef there could be. There's no Ken Hinkley.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't know. Maybe Josh Carr brings the mantle back up.
Guinea's not flying out to
Guinea's
Adelaide
not
at the
flying.
moment.
I think he's doing more. I think he's got bigger fish to fry, if we're being completely honest.
Yeah, being an incredibly good player.
Yeah, I mean, just lots of really big positives going on at the Hawthorn Hawks. How could Port take this one? Zach Butters has a generational game.
I genuinely don't know what the
Georgiades goes off, but I reckon he'll get shut down by Barras.
Like, what are the Power going to
Maybe not shut down, but not as effective as I need him to be.
I don't say it. I think this could be a thrashing. I really do. I'm going Hawthorn by 53. Like, I genuinely think it's going to be a really, really bad watch for Port fans.
Okay, damn. All right. I'm going to go Hawthorn.
Suck it.
I'm going Hawthorn, and I'm going to go by, you know what? For Port fans, I'm going to make it a little easier. Not too much easier. 41. Hawthorn by 41. Let's go Adelaide, St Kilda. You stay in Adelaide.
Again,
post-gather round.
What a horrible draw. What are the AFL thinking?
Well,
I don't understand it.
At the moment, it feels like everyone in the AFL hates the Saints. They really do.
Well, we're going to prove them wrong. We're going to beat Adelaide in Adelaide. I wish.
Don't do that ever again, please. Don't ever do that again. Adelaide versus Saints. I'm going to go Adelaide, I think, in this one. With this game, my thinking is, can the Saints finally click everything together? Because that first quarter looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
How does that click again? How do we find that again?
I don't know, because can we score as frequently as we did against a much better team? Because Adelaide are a much better team than Port Adelaide. The other thing is, our forward line structure once again got absolutely capitulated in the second half. For whatever reason, we just completely fall apart. And whenever we try exit 50, first of all, our ruckman cannot mark a ball to save their lives. We are paying probably $2.5 million for the blokes to double punch the ball when they're in 5 meters clear of open space. So if they could take a mark, then I think we could be every chance at winning the game, but they can't. So a bit disappointed there. And like, we just don't have a good forward line. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So we've really, I think defensively we should be fine, because I don't think, like, we'll probably bring in Howard to be able to go to Thilthorpe, and I think Rankin and Rochelle can be quelled because we've got some good shutout players. It just depends how well we can score against this Adelaide backline.
I'm still leaning Adelaide, I think. I think their guns can still outgun you. I think their defense, for the most part, has still stayed solid. Although there are a few kind of problems against Carlton that I looked at, like a few like really momentous, like momentum building things for Carlton that for some reason Adelaide just could not stop. But I'm going to go Adelaide by. I'm going to go 12. I'm going to say that Saints make it close.
I'm going to say Saints make it real close. Adelaide by 5.
Wow.
Yep.
Lots of hope.
Stinker of the week, North Melbourne
No, it
versus
isn't.
Richmond.
No, it
It's
isn't.
just because Richmond are playing it.
If we lose to Richmond, oh
You
my
guys
God.
cannot lose. Like
We
there is
cannot lose.
There is no world where you should.
We
be
got a
losing
1
this.
week of pressure off where, if we lose, you kind of expected to. It's okay. And we came out looking pretty all right. If we make Richmond look like world beaters, I won't know what to do with myself. Our pressure has been really up there, and North have made it a really, really big thing internally that they're going to put the pressure on every team they play against.
You have to win this by 40.
I think so too.
I don't think you will, but I think you have to. I think it'll
Thanks,
be
man.
a stink fest, but you get over the line.
Oh, well, if they played the way they did against Essendon in that game at Marvel, then yeah, that would be an absolute stink fest.
Yep.
I think North are going to take this by 41 to spite you.
Again by 41.
North
Okay.
are going to take it to spite you.
North are going to win by 3 goals, and that's about it.
I hate you. Melbourne versus Brisbane.
Interesting game,
This is
you
such
know.
a game for Melbourne to win, isn't it?
They did it last year, I'm pretty sure.
Oh god, that
Like
just
they
makes
beat them
sense.
up there, I think,
That
last
just
year.
makes sense, doesn't it?
So,
Yeah,
like-
Melksham had a
Yeah.
ripper. Yeah, that's it. I think Brisbane, their class surely gets it done. They're known to play a big game at the MCG too.
I've criticised Melbourne a lot lately.
Uh,
For me to tip them would just feel so wrong.
that's
so
what
I
you did with
can't.
Essendon to start the year. You
Yeah.
criticism all off-season, then you
Yeah.
tipped them against Hawthorn.
Yeah. I got sucked in. I'm not getting sucked in by Melbourne, by hating Melbourne and then tipping them. I'm not doing it. I'm going Brisbane, and I'm not going to go super comfortably. I'll go by 25.
I
They
think
sort of sit around that mark for a lot of their wins, Brisbane.
Brisbane have been really, really clean. I think the way that they made North really pay for their turnovers for the most
Yeah.
part, they could do that to Melbourne and then some because their aim is to really push it forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Brisbane can do their usual thing and stop them before they get inside 50, they'll be able to fling it straight back
Yeah.
out and go back their way and put up big scores. I reckon Brisbane could take this by a lot. But at the same time, if Melbourne are clean enough and bring enough momentum in front of their home crowd, they could make it close too. This is so back and forth. I'm going to go Brisbane by 25. I don't know.
As well?
Did you go 25 as well? Sorry.
Yes.
I'm going to go
No, you
Brisbane
can't
by...
change it now. Can't change it.
Whatever. All right, be boring then. And then the worst, maybe the worst, how did producer tell me to say this? It was Derby. Thank you, producer. We're going to go the worst derby that we've ever seen.
Derby.
Shut up. Fremantle versus West Coast. It's very much looking like a Freo big win.
Is there a sneaky chance?
Maybe.
I can see it.
If they played the way they played against Port and North, where like they were really clean and played like out of their skin.
You never know with the derby.
You never know. You never know, hey? I think Freo's going to take this, though. They have showed probably the most consistency out of many teams that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Like, even in the loss they had, they still looked like a strong side.
That Sydney game still just haunts me for West Coast. Like, I just can't see them being able to compete as much as
It was
I thought they
very
could
much
have.
a reality check, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it's a huge one. So I'm going Fremantle, but I'll go by 35.
I'll go Fremantle by 35. No. I'll go Freo by 44.
Okay, I like it. Matty Johnson,
It's 'cause it's not
Matty
35.
Johnson versus Josh Tracy. Bang, bang, bang.
That'll be goated. Going to be a great performance there.
Yeah.
You know what? You're doing the outro because of that. Do the outro in that voice.
Make sure to watch us on Spotify, not listen, because you want to watch everything on there.
Yeah.
Subscribe, please, if you haven't already.
Please.
Hit the like button. Hype up the video if you're watching on your phone, because that is actually the best way to push the video in the algorithm. I don't know, but we're doing it anyway. Listen to all other platforms, and thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next week.
I love my job.
I know.